For the Emperor, welcome back my wonderful wise ones to another fantastic video, today with your host Big Chungus or Savior 3.0. Today we're going to be taking a look at Space Marines 2 in 2025. What has happened with this game? Is it still a masterpiece? And I never actually covered this game before. I never gave you my Space Marines 2 review because I was busy at the time. But today I'm giving you my Space Marines 2 2025 review, the updated version of this game. And I have to say, it's absolutely incredible. I've got to be careful by doing the Emperor salute because we don't want to do an Elon over here now, do we?
Thank you.
Now, I would say I'm relatively new to Warhammer. I did my first figure here, and I'm pretty happy with the paint job, to be honest. I learned a lot of contrast and everything. I might do a separate video just showing off my collection of Dark Souls and little figures and stuff like that at some point, but I'm not an expert, okay? But I do enjoy the Warhammer universe. I really do love the metaphysical ideas it plays with psychic energy, and I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on Warhammer because I'm certainly not, but this game absolutely blew everyone away when it first came out, and it wasn't that long ago. It was only like half a year ago, so that's why today I'm giving you a Space Marines 2 2025 review, because I've been going through it with a buddy. Thank you, shout out to Matt for giving me the game. I'm absolutely enjoying it so far, but this game has really surprised me because it's basically died. I mean, it's not completely dead, but it is certainly not to where it was on release. And that was a shock to me because this game is fantastic, but for some reason, Space Marines 2 in 2025 is not what it should be, okay? It certainly deserves a lot more.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
So here we can see the Space Marines 2 2025 roadmap, and when the game came out in September, okay, it was absolutely crazy. Since then it's been like 2 million players, which sounds impressive, but the bulk of that was at launch and around, you know, Season 2, okay? And then since then it's massively dipped, okay, which is quite crazy considering just how good this game is, and that they've now announced Space Marines 3 coming out at some point, that they are actually working on it. So why has the player base died, okay, pretty much? Why has the player base of Space Marines 2 plummeted so badly when other games are, you know, thriving, and we're seeing, you know, people play CSGO, Destiny, whatever, you know, lots and lots of live service games, even Fallout 76, people are going back and playing that game. Let's just compare the two, shall we, for fun? It's just like, it just works, okay, and it is clearly working, Mr. Howard, because right now you have, in a 24-hour peak, 14,000 players. Pretty good, I would say. Not bad for a live service game. And I'm looking at, you know, not competitive multiplayer games. I'm just having a quick look at that kind of similar co-op experience. So now, over on Space Marines 2, we see a 24-hour peak of only 9,000, which is quite insane. So it's less than Fallout, which is quite crazy considering I would say that this is a much better multiplayer game than Fallout 76, obviously. And also, you know, just Warhammer, I would say, is a bigger IP than Fallout, even though I love Fallout. Two things that I absolutely love, I just thought I would compare them. There you go. The results speak for themselves. So now in 2025, Season 3, you know, there is a lot being added, to be honest. New enemies, new PvP arenas, stuff like that, if you are really into that game mode. And then soon, that is coming, and very soon we will be getting Horde mode, new enemies, new weapons, stuff like that, and eventually we're going to get a lot more. But the Horde mode will be, you know, a game mode that can be played to death, because they don't have randomized content where it's, you know, procedurally generated, which I'm glad about, but a lot of people maybe are sick of playing the same stuff, even though there's a lot here, in my opinion. So what the hell happened? Let's find out if Space Marines 2 is worth playing in 2025 still. If Space Marines 2 is worth it in 2025, let's find out.
Another martini, Paul.
Baba booey. Now before we do that, make sure that you do go down below and subscribe to the Savior 3.0 community right now. Go down below, my lovely disciples. Become a wise one today by subscribing. If you love video game content, deep analysis on gaming, reviews, yearly reviews like this one, early access reviews, and philosophical content in which we break apart reality, look at the fundamental different philosophies of our own universe and games as well. I've done a whole breakdown of Fallout because I'm insane. But if you love deep analytical content, make sure you join the community. We are growing strong this year. I'm going to give back to you guys for community. Some giveaways coming, which I don't usually do, but this is with my partner Instant Gaming, so why not? It's a win-win for you guys. I just want to give back some love, and I really do appreciate you just watching my videos. It means absolutely everything. For returning wise ones, new wise ones who are joining this channel, I want to make this something great so we can actually have a real impact, do some good in the world. And I just really appreciate you watching the channel. So help an independent channel on the come up by subscribing, joining this community, being one of the ground members of this force, so we can do some good, okay, and fight the goddamn corpos. And speaking of giving back to the Wise One community, in that vein, as I am, spoiler alert for the end of this video, I know it doesn't help retention, but I am gonna recommend Space Marines 2 because it's a fantastic game, and there's still a lot coming in 2025, which I'll discuss and why it's good in a moment. But to give back to you guys, why not grab it at a hefty discount by using my link, Wise Ones, down below in the comments, in the pinned comments and the description, thanks to my partner Instant Gaming. And thank you so much, Instant Gaming, for being my official partner. I love working with you guys. You're just awesome. Honestly, the savings on this website are absolutely nuts. I always go to this now instead of Steam. You can trust them because they're not a grey marketplace. You get what you pay for. It always works. But for example, Space Marines 2, it's still a hefty AAA title that costs a lot of money. You can get up to 44%, which is crazy for the standard edition or gold edition. Let's see how much you get off. 46%, which is crazy. So pretty much almost half. So why pay full price when you can just get it for literally half the price at this point, close to half the price, 44% off. And what I love about Instant Gaming, it's truly its own, platform and gaming community as well, because you can scroll down to the bottom and even have reviews here where people go into detailed analysis on what they like about the game, what they don't like about the game. So it really is a community here on Instant Gaming as well, and that's what I really want to emphasize. And if you want a different game, they have a huge selection on the newest games releasing, the biggest games, but they come out already with a hefty discount. That's what makes them, different from other companies, because you're getting the games at a huge discount. You're supporting authorized resellers that aren't doing shady grey market stuff, and you can rest assured that you're getting high quality stuff, almost 5 stars with almost 1 million reviews. But yeah, you can get the newest games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Adamfall, and even these new games come out with a 40% discount, 29% discount, crazy stuff. So why not use Instant Gaming, save yourself some money on any game that you want to play, or Space Marines 2 by using my link. So use my link, Wise Ones, and get some savings, because only a wise one will get savings, not be a dummy and pay full price for new games when you can get savings, and you help support the show and community. And honestly, using Instant Gaming has been an absolute blessing. Just seeing the amount of savings you make, you can actually track how much savings you're making with Instant Gaming. It's honestly refreshing, and it's just a great community to get involved with and just get games that you want for cheaper. So use my link and let's get back to the video. And thanks again, Instant Gaming, for sponsoring the video. Now, I find it quite surprising that this game got described as godly and the next best thing since dipping your balls in, cream cheese, okay? I mean, they were describing this thing as being the next best game to ever exist when it first came out. Reviews absolutely glazing and praising this game, just buttering it up with a lot of honey so you could just devour that shit, you know what I mean? This game got such high praise on release, and then to see it performing worse than Fallout 76 now is absolutely insane to me. So let's first discuss why that's happening. So I believe that the reason why this is happening is, first of all, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon, the hype train, when this game first came out because everyone was praising it so much. A lot of these people were just gamers. And when I say just gamers, okay, I mean they aren't actual fans of Warhammer. So they might have liked the idea of the game, but playing it, they realized actually this game, you know, the universe and the actual style, the story and all that kind of stuff doesn't appeal to them, so they kind of dropped it. Even if the gameplay was fun, they couldn't personally get invested into it, which I understand because it is very, very heavy Warhammer and it takes a lot of research to really understand what the hell is going on, to be honest. But that's not really the only reason, because this game stands up on its own. Even if you don't really care about the universe of Warhammer, it's a fun game. So the only other reason I can think of why it dropped off so much is simply because, like most Warhammer games, I'm a huge Darktide fan, by the way. Even though I'm not the biggest Warhammer fan, I do love the idea, but I'm not like heavily invested in the lore. I just love that game so much. The weighty melee combat, I could gush about it for ages, and the soundtrack. Mwah, the soundtrack is amazing. Way better than the soundtrack in this game, which is still quite good. I just wish they had the same guy, Jasper Kidd, I think he's called, doing the soundtrack for this game. Like most Warhammer games, they're not adding content fast enough, okay? You get a lot of live service slop, okay, out there, but what they do is they give back to the community with tons of cosmetics, loads of, you know, just quality of life updates, and a lot of new content. Now, it does have a roadmap, but it is rather bare bones, just like it was with Darktide, and it's very, very slow with its release of that content. And most people aren't that patient, thus seeing the decline. Also, once you go through the campaign, it's a one and done pretty much. There's not much new things to find in the game itself, so the only kind of content that is constantly changing is PvP pretty much, because the story missions, the objective-based co-op missions, you know, they are handcrafted. They aren't randomly giving you unique objectives. Yes, there's, you know, modifiers and stuff like that, and different challenges, different, you know, difficulty modes and stuff like that, but there wasn't enough to really make this a proper live service game, and I feel like this game had its foot in both worlds. It didn't really know what it wanted to be. Was it trying to just be a one and done, you know, story focused game with a little bit of multiplayer on the side? That's very old school. That model isn't really supported in today's gaming industry, so it wasn't really sure if it could support itself as a live service game. And I think that's why fundamentally, as a multiplayer experience, we're seeing a huge drop off, which is a shame because it had the bones, the juicy bones to be something great. You have to pause now to get ads. Yeah, so if I literally want to survive doing this, I have to literally speak slower because that's the new ad system. So if there's more pauses in some of my newer videos coming up, now you know why. Because YouTube is just, it's great at optimizing viewer experience and you know, helping the creator out. So now we are on to the review proportion. So now let's get into the Space Marines 2 2025 review section of this video. Now I've talked about what it is right now in 2025, the yearly update of it. Now let's actually discuss the game itself. For new people, is Space Marines 2 worth playing in 2025? Well, yes, I believe it is. Especially if you're like me and you didn't play it on release, now is the perfect time to jump into it because it does have the quality of life updates, bug fixes, optimization. It's also getting a new horde mode, which is going to be a lot of fun. There's already new maps implemented because that was all coming, you know, to the game on release. Now it's actually here, so you get a full experience right now. Just don't expect to be playing this game 10 years down the road. That's the problem with this game. And that's not really a big problem, and it's sad to see that so many people just dropped this when there's still a lot of replayability here, and I'm encouraging people just to experience this as a single player game as well, which not enough people are, as it's truly something special. Alrighty, so let's talk about what makes Space Marines 2 such an awesome game, shall we? Let's get into the meat and potatoes, if you will. So the reason why this game is just simply incredible and it got such good reviews on release, and why I still do think that it's worth playing in 2025, basically it's because just the gameplay is simply just fantastic. So it borrows elements almost from a Souls-like game to some degree. Now this is basically two games in one, okay? It's a hack and slash mash 'em up, but also a tactical shooter. And this game is in fact very, very tactical. You will have to communicate well with your teammates if you actually want to perform well in this game on higher difficulties. Yes, you can just go through it as, you know, nice and easy, but you will not really be actually getting the main juice, okay, out of Space Marines 2 if you play it on a more casual difficulty. Where the fun is playing this at harder difficulty and really communicating with your teammates and yeah, just having that tactical edge against the enemy when you are fighting a boss and stuff like that. That's when it feels really intense and just crazy. And this game is difficult, okay? You have lots of different enemy variation throughout the game, especially throughout the campaign. It starts off slow, but then more and more enemies just get introduced over time. And you would think that just fighting these xenomorph-like creatures would get tired after a while, but it doesn't, because there is a lot of enemy variation. You have to deal with ranged enemies, up-close enemies, much more armored and tanky enemies, the little, you know, swarmers and all that kind of stuff. You constantly have to be on the move. It's much more of a movement shooter compared to like the original Space Marines game, where it's more cover based, I would say, or you can play it that way. This time you really always have to be on the move because you will get flushed out with poison and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot going on here. That's why Space Marines 2 is such a fantastic game, because each enemy type you have to think about tactically how you take them out, and how you do that is also just goddamn awesome, because it borrows some elements from a Souls-like combat system where you have to focus on parries. And yes, it's all kind of color-coded, which I don't really like. I like playing with no HUD because it's way more immersive, but still, they do have that kind of color code where you can see them coming at you, but otherwise you wouldn't be able to figure it out because there's so much shit happening on screen at any point. And then there are these brutal executions, very much in the Doomslayer style, where you just go up to an enemy and completely shred them to pieces, and that's just so visceral and satisfying. And again, it feeds into that aggressive gameplay, okay, because you can't really be passive in this. You have to be constantly, you know, pushing forwards and fighting the enemy, or you will get overrun. And basically when you do an execution, it will refill your stamina and your health. So it's a very satisfying loop, if you will. And then in the co-op element of this game, that's where the fun really begins, because the campaign is a little bit limiting. But, you know, it's still a great story. It's a good campaign because things are constantly happening and changing. You're constantly getting new things like a jetpack, new different weapons to play around with. But the co-op operations, that's where I'm having the most fun, because that is where you can deck out your own Space Marine, okay? And that is absolutely awesome. As someone, as you can tell, who likes, you know, the creative side of things and painting and stuff like that, I know this probably isn't lore accurate, but you know, I really love creating my own Space Marine, you know, a red Space Marine, decking him out, customizing him, painting him, all that kind of stuff. It's just absolutely amazing, because the armor, the art style in Warhammer is one of the reasons why it's such a fantastic universe, because it's truly just beautiful. It's this, you know, Roman / medieval inspired gothic, over the top, hard sci-fi that I just really love. And Darktide feels even more kind of gritty and just more visceral and grungy, if you will, but this still nails that aesthetic of a super, you know, like a kind of dark sci-fi, grim dark, or whatever you want to call it. I can't remember the actual terminology, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's goddamn awesome, okay? And especially as someone who loves the Roman Empire and is literally trying to create their own philosophy around the Roman Empire, and creating a new resurgence for that movement with my own real-world philosophy, of course you can imagine that I love this shit, okay? It's also the attention to detail, even with the campaign, when you're going around the hub area, seeing all of these different hierarchies of, you know, soldiers and stuff interact with each other. it's so detailed, and that's why it's just incredible. And it's so sad that this game is kind of dropping off, in my opinion, because I just think it's truly breathtaking. And I really love how the campaign goes parallel to the co-op mission, so it's actually connected as well, so you know, things are actually happening at the same time as the campaign. That's just a nice touch. I've also got to say that the horde technology in this game is absolutely nuts. Okay, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, that's really cool, that's just like a background animation. No, they are actual enemies that you can actually kill. They are physically in the game, which is insane stuff, and seeing them pile on top of each other trying to get to you, that's when you really have to get tactical and watch all areas around you, which I really love. And they're building on that World War Z, I think, technology, the swarm technology, and it is truly something special that I haven't seen in other games. And I know a lot of people are massive fans of Helldivers, okay, that's another multiplayer game that's doing really well, still continues to do well. But to me, this also captures that DNA of that kind of Starship Troopers vibe, because you are mostly hunting bugs, but later on you will be fighting other more humanoid enemies. The combat just doesn't get old. It's very satisfying, you know, executions, parries, dodges, all of that kind of stuff. And you even do this thing where basically if you deal enough damage, you can finish them off with a quick shot. Again, just a nice little feature. So it's got that very satisfying combat loop, and I can see how it can get repetitive, I guess, if you're tired of fighting the same enemies over and over again. But I do think that this game has enough enemy variation, location variation, verticality with its gameplay. It could be a little bit more open at times, especially in the main missions. It does feel kind of sometimes like a corridor shooter, like you're forced down this one way, but there are other areas where it branches off into different paths. I do think the only thing that really holds this game back, in my opinion, that really could have made it great, a masterpiece, and it's close to being a masterpiece already in my opinion, and that is simply just the level design itself. You know, artistically it's absolutely amazing, but it doesn't really give you enough freedom in the actual exploration and just you know, verticality and stuff like that. You know, it's a little bit on rails even with the jetpack, and I just wish they went completely more open with it. That would give you a lot more tactical freedom, and yeah, I think that would make it a lot better. But honestly, the level design still here is pretty good for the most part. At times it can be quite simplified, and I think that's maybe why a lot of people have kind of dropped it at this point, because they've done everything and then they've moved on and there's not enough content to support it. But I think if you give it a chance to go back and replay it in different areas, then you'll see that there is still a lot to do. And there is a competitive edge, okay? If you are a person who likes that PvP combat, then there is that in this game as well. But again, I don't think that appeals to everyone because of the time to kill and all that kind of stuff. But I can't stress enough just how amazing Space Marines 2 truly is, you know? It's got great art design, amazing combat, even if it is simple at times, but still you have to learn the ropes, okay? And I really do like that. It reminds me of older games where, you know, each melee weapon actually has a different combo system, and there are actual combos in it, so it does have a little bit of action flair to it. And then great tactical shooting with a third person over the camera, you know, kind of Gears of War inspired shooting, then Doom executions. It takes a lot of things from a lot of games and just makes it work so well, and it does have that almost Darktide objective based multiplayer system in it, although I don't think it does it as well as Darktide does, to be honest. It's still a great time. So the only things I could really say that would make it better is more openness, better exploration. There are things to collect out in the open world. The bosses are fantastic in this game. I haven't even touched upon that. But more like, you know, modifiers to add like more bosses and stuff like that would be cool. And just a little bit more open level design. I think that would make this game go a long way, and of course added content. But overall, it's a fantastic game, and where the real fun is, like I said, is customizing and leveling up your own Space Marine, and you can do that because of the class-based system. What I really love about this game and where the fun truly is for me is leveling up your own Space Marine, okay? And you have different classes for that in the multiplayer, from the Assault class to a Sniper to Tactical, and then you have the beefy boy that I like to play as, which is basically an old knight, a noble knight Templar, if you will, with a sword and shield, and I can't even use a main weapon, but it's so goddamn satisfying because the melee combat in this game is fantastic. It's the communication with your teammates, the emotes, just having a whole lot of fun. There's this classic moment here where I went AFK for a second because I had to go to the toilet, and my wife saw I was struggling and my other friend was already down, and luckily she came in clutch. Have a look at this.
Need to hurry up, there's something happening here. Come on. You like, looks like, electric or something. Oh, shit! What's good? He's still in the toilet. Oh no! Oh no! Jeez, hurry up! Jeez, what is this? Jeez! What are you doing?
Moments like that, the chaotic fun of this game, is what makes Space Marines 2 such a fantastic game. And honestly, it's doing a lot. It's got a great campaign on top of an already good multiplayer system, and the bones are there, but sadly people have a little bit given up on this game because there's not enough content. But honestly, from art direction, from storytelling, even though the story isn't the most interesting, it's a little bit wooden with how they perform, but again, that's kind of in line with the kind of stoic nature of the Warhammer universe, and trusting the Emperor and all that kind of stuff. So it's not very personal, I guess you could say, but still the philosophical elements that I love about Warhammer, like the metaphysical energies and how humans consciousness literally taps into the universe and manifests itself out into the universe. That's why we all have to be aware of how we act and what we say to each other in the world. I really do think that is important because we are all kind of sending out some form of vibration. That's my own personal belief, and Warhammer taps into that kind of idea. The artistry of Warhammer is simply amazing, and I can see why a lot of fans are happy with this, but I also see why the general gamer might have dropped this because it doesn't quite have that satisfying loop yet. And there's not enough gameplay modes, but there is more stuff coming, like Horde mode, like I said. But overall, I just think it's a fantastic game, a beautiful, rendition of the Warhammer universe, great quality sci-fi, great combat. It actually needs you to play skillfully. It's not one of those switch off your brains and just go, ham with it, unless if you're playing on lower difficulty. So I can see why it's maybe not as mass appealing as something like Helldivers, but I do think Space Marines 2 in 2025 is a masterpiece, and it still is worth playing in 2025. And it's a real shame what's happening with Warhammer Space Marines 2 in 2025. I really hope it does come back to its former glory, because it's just a shame that this was such a big thing and then it literally just died so quickly, or at least the hype and conversation around this game was very short-lived. And I think, we always are complaining that there's no good games anymore, but then when there is a good game, we simply forget about it. And to me, that's a crying shame. So I just wanted to cover Warhammer Space Marines 2 in 2025, give you my up-to-date Space Marines 2 review for 2025. How many times do I have to say that? You tell me. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Like I said, like the video. That also helps. Consider supporting me by dropping a thank you or just checking out my music on Spotify, becoming a member, whatever it is. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to use the link on Instant Gaming if you do want a discount on any game. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.
Ah! his name I will fight! If we die with vengeance on our lips!